how do you beat the giants? You have to play the game, I think, according to a different set of rules. And I think a good, to keep using the same drum, a good way to do that is to be authentic for you and have a story that actually captures people's imaginations.
Hey everyone, it's Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the e-commerce and Amazon FBA podcast. Okay, today we're going to be talking about an interesting subject, and that's about attracting and retaining new customers. In fact, it's the digital marketer's blueprint, proven tactics to attract and retain new customers. We're also going to be talking about some of the most effective strategies our guest has. Also, within our guest 19 years in the e-com business, what has it taught him, and the common mistakes that 99% of businesses are making and why they fail. So welcome to the Lunch with Norm, Amazon FBA and e-commerce podcast. All right, today, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about the digital marketer blueprint, proven tactics for attracting and retaining customers. Our guest is CEO of Aurion Digital. I hope I said that right, Matt. That was the same the last time you were on. He is a well-versed in e-commerce as an e-commerce entrepreneur, generating over 75 million in worldwide sales, and a coach who has a combined turnover of $100 million. He's also the host of the eCom podcast, where he chats with experts in the field of e-commerce on how to grow and develop online business. I'm going to welcome back to the podcast, Matt Edmundson. But before we do that, let's have a word from our sponsor. Launching products isn't like it used to be. To successfully launch your product, you need to hit that algorithm from all sides. Driving external sales, boosting social signals, and increasing product listing engagement are fundamental to success. Rebate is the first and only launch platform that delivers across this broad range. Get your product featured on Amazon.live through Rebate's influencer program. With this service, your product gets instant exposure to large audiences of shoppers and permanent placement on Amazon Influencer Storefront, which drives perpetual sales. Run a sweepstakes campaign on Rebate and connect with shoppers off Amazon. And lastly, drive external sales with tried and true deals campaigns. Visit rebate.com today and get started with your 14-day free trial. Okay, let's bring on the boy the boy Blunder's not around today. He's got the flu. Let's bring on the producer of the people. That's a little different.
You like
Welcome, Hayden. Yes, the producer for the people.
That's right.
How are you?
I'm great. How's your Monday going?
Oh, it's going pretty good. It's Monday.
Yes.
Sorry about the cough. Hopefully I was far enough away from the mic, but I wanted to give you just a brief update on what's been going on with 0 to 100,000 follower challenge. So we started last week going out on TikTok, showing people the beginning stages, phase one, primarily focusing on planning, putting out 2 to 3 TikToks a day. We did get approximately 30, 40 new followers, nothing huge, but I wasn't expecting that. Over on our other TikTok channel, we've been doing a little bit of, and that's Lunch with Norm Deals, or LWN Deals. We put up about 6 product videos, and we only have around 7 followers. So we can always use the followers, if you know what I mean. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But the big news over at the Lunch with Norm Deals site, looking really great. I know we do have to format it, but we got a lot more deals going up there every day. And our Facebook So I didn't talk to you about this, but we've got a couple of memes that took off. So we were getting 10 likes or 20 likes, but we had two memes, one on Friday that reached 35,000 people, okay, organically. It was not promoted. So this is organic, non-promoted post. We received over 100 likes on that. And I'm talking about for the page. We had, I think, something like, I don't know, it might have been, I'm thinking over 100 shares, well over 100 shares, and a ton of likes. So, and engagement was crazy. Like it was like 500 people were engaging on it. Same thing. We did this yesterday, and we're already at 7,500 people reached with some really great engagement. So this is what I'm going to be bringing out in the journal on TikTok about just keep going, keep going, keep going, and one of these things will hit. So it's all about engagement. If you're getting one or two people liking your product. So just for example, I put up a deal for the day yesterday, and I believe we've already got 63 likes. Not huge, but it's 63 likes that are that people have actually clicked on, that like the product. Now I just got to get them to buy, and it's like 70 or 80% off. So there's no reason why they wouldn't. So anyways, I just wanted to give you that follow up. Anything to say, Hayden?
Yeah, have you thought about dancing with your products?
Don't even.
I think that would get a lot of likes.
You think so?
I think so.
Yeah.
Or maybe that could be for the Patreon.
Does your voice get on your nerves too?
Oh, you know it. That's why
anyways, yeah, I haven't thought about dancing. That might be later on. I just try to stick with walking. But anyway, what do you got to say? I'm sure you have something about smashing things, don't you?
Yes, of course. Everyone, you know the drill. Make sure you smash the like buttons here and on Dad's dancing TikTok channel, his private TikTok channel. You can also follow us on Spotify and on Apple. Anywhere you listen to your podcast, we're there. So make sure you follow us there. Stick around. We're going to be doing a giveaway later in the show as well. So make sure you enter with the hashtag Wheel of Kelsey or Wheel of Hayden if you want to be on my good side. And I believe that's it.
Very good. Okay. Yeah. So if you have questions today, I think it's going to be a great podcast. Matt's awesome. I think the last time he was on, we got a ton of questions. So get them in early. It's about digital marketing strategies. And I mean, we might go down some other rabbit holes, but throw your questions or comments in the comment section. And now just sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee. I did. And welcome, Matt.
Well, good evening. It's great to be with you. I'm sorry, Norm. I'm just thinking of what those dancing videos would look like.
It would not be pretty.
Honestly, I nearly spat my tea out when that came up as a possibility. Really
yeah. Leave that to Hayden. So we have a bunch of listeners on right now. The people in the comments, I just wanted to give a quick hi to Luke, Chuck, Marina, Rad, Howard. Howard, we just did a live podcast with you the other day, and I think it went really well. Andrew, Simon, he's in your neck of the woods, Matt. Okay. And I think that's it. So welcome, everybody. Matt, let's get started. This is a huge topic. Where should we even start with this?
Oh man, I don't know. Can I just say it's good to be back? Thanks for having me on the show. I've been looking forward to this all day. It's 5 p.m. here, so it's towards the end of my day, and so this is a good way to end it.
Perfect. That's usually my bedtime. So I'm old. Okay, so let's talk about some digital marketing strategies. So what are some of the most effective digital marketing strategies for finding new customers or growing a brand or business?
I think there's in my head, you have to separate this idea of tactics and strategy. So there are tactics that we can employ. An obvious one would be doing what you're doing on TikTok. That would be a tactic, right? How can I build an audience on TikTok? But I think strategy answers the question, well, should I actually audience on TikTok? Do you see what I mean? It kind of answers the, well, why would I want to do this? Does it make sense for me and my brand? And so I think you have to start with, in my head, Norm, I like things really simple, right? And otherwise it just doesn't work. And so in my head, I have this picture of two circles, if you can picture this. In one circle, I call it my story, as in me, the brand, me, the e-commerce business, me, the businessman. This is the reason why I've set the business up. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to achieve, my visions, my aims, my values, my whole meaning and purpose in the business. And then in the other circle, I have the customer's story, as in, well, why do they want to buy this product? What's their pain? What are they trying to solve? Where do they hang out? What kind of cafes do they drink at? What kind of clothes they like to wear? Even if I'm not saying clothes, I want to understand their story, what they're trying to achieve in life. And you usually find there's an overlap between my story and their story. And it's where those two circles overlap that I think branding takes place. That I think actually, if you learn to operate in that area, that overlap, it always answers everything. So should I do TikTok reels? Well, how does that work with my story? How does that work with my customer's story? For example, if my customers aren't on TikTok because they're all of a certain age and have no idea what TikTok is, does it make sense to do that? Yes or no, right? And so where that overlap is, then we can move into tactics. And that's normally where I'd start, which I appreciate is a long answer to your question. Understanding those two things, your story, the customer story, and where those overlap.
But I really like what you were saying there with the two circles overlapping, because once you do, and all that tells me is you got to know your audience, right?
Yeah, totally.
So, and why don't we talk about that for a little bit? So we've got brands, and I've seen this, and I'm sure you have too, where they're not marketing to me. Like they think they are, but they're way off base. They are not marketing to an old guy bald with a beard. They're marketing to a tween, a female tween. It doesn't make sense. Why are they doing it? Because they haven't done the research properly.
Exactly.
And they could even, if they wanted to, I've seen this done too, they could even create a separate brand, separate packaging. And we've done that with soap to market to, like for us, mudders. These are crazy people who like to run through obstacle courses and get filled with mud. And we market them. We say, get clean with mud, and we sell Dead Sea mud. But it's a different brand and it's a different look. And we also and on that, we have grenade soap. Okay. So for the right-wing crowd, we have Dr. Tusk, a social conscious crowd. And then we got Dirty Bastard soap just for fun.
And that probably outsells just because it's a really cool name.
Yeah, it's all merch. It's not soap. But anyways, but you have to dig in, know your audience. And I've said this before. Simon's probably heard it a million times. But going to Spark Toro will really help out. That's Rand Fishkin's app, and it's just Spark Toro, Toro, and will help you find the influencers or the people that are looking at your competitors or influencing your competitors to better understand your marketplace. And also, Scott Cunningham was on from Digital Marketers about a month ago, and he's the guy. He was on for Shopify, but he has a course on building personas on a digital marketer. And it's great because if you take a little bit of research or pay a VA or pay somebody on Upwork to go and do your research for you. But I think that's probably the first thing you want to do is understand that.
Yeah, for me, it's really critical quite early on in the process. It's who is buying my product and why are they buying it, and spending the time doing the research, whether you outsource that, whether you do it yourself. it's worth the investment because it changes everything. It changes your marketing, it changes your messaging. A question I get often asked by people starting out is, what e-commerce platform should I use? Should I use Shopify? Should I use Squarespace? Should I use Wix? Should I use WordPress? Should I use this, that, or the, there's 25,000 platforms out there. Which one should I use? And the answer is, well, tell me about your customer. And inevitably they can't. And you're kind of like, well, until you understand your customer, you don't know what the best platform is to serve them, right? So I think understanding your customer drives everything. It drives how your website looks, the UX, all that's the language you use, the copy, the images, everything is driven by that understanding. And that's where you've got to invest the time.
Right. I mean, this even helps you with your competitors. Like, let's say you go over to Helium 10 and you're selling a bully stick. Well, I know, I'll just give you an example. So I know that there's 1,000 bully sticks out there and there's 1,000 6-inch bully sticks, but you can drill down and be more specific. So I know that Kevin King has these really cool bully sticks that he was selling, and they were actually made by a chef, the recipe, and there were 3, and everybody else was selling these bully sticks for next to nothing. He was selling 3 bully sticks for like $50 or something. Mm-hmm. But that would be like, if I wanted to sell gourmet bully sticks, that's completely different than these other crappy ones that are out there. Mm. And if you don't go after that market, and if you don't do your competitive research on your competitions properly, you're going to miss it as well when you're coming up with your strategy.
Yeah, totally agree. It's not that I know what a bully stick is.
It's a dried bull penis.
Okay. I'm definitely not the target market.
Yeah. Dogs love them.
Okay. Fair enough. There's no coming back from that, is there really?
No.
So yeah, I mean, I totally agree, and that's how you differentiate, isn't it? It's like you can take a product and you can say, well, if I don't spend the time to understand the nuances of my customers, and I'm selling whatever sunglasses, then I'm like everybody else selling sunglasses, and it just becomes, a numbers game. Can I get enough people to come and buy this product because I just happen to find them at that point in time ready to buy? And you'll get 1 or 2, and it's a volume, Whereas if you understand the customer story, you can pitch your story very differently. Instead of selling the sunglasses for $10 like everybody else, you can sell them for $200, but there's a story associated with that no one else has got. And I think it's that story which is really going to differentiate you going forward,
Right, exactly. And there's a lot of brands that you can see out there that do that. It's a plastic pair of sunglasses, no different than the competitor. And one is, and I don't know about you, but I've seen this on Amazon quite a bit, where you have the really crappy products, like they're just chewing up your product. It's product cannibalization. Then you have your average products, and then you have these really highly perceived valued products that go for 3, 4, 5 times the amount, and they're selling because of the perception, because they know their audience.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's interesting. A few years ago, we did this offer where you got a gift with purchase on our website. And what we did was we found the company that manufactures candles for quite a well-known famous brand here in the UK, right? And they have stores in Harrods and everywhere. They're quite a well-known brand. Well, we went and found the guys that were creating at least a good chunk of their candles and some of their well-known essences, and we could go, I want some of those candles, please. And these candles were selling for like 30, let me do the translate, maybe about $40, $45, right? They were not cheap candles. And I was buying them wholesale at $3 or $4 a piece.
Wow.
So I knew how much it cost to get them made. And I knew how much the people were willing to buy them. So what was the gap? What was the difference? Why was somebody willing to pay $45 for something which costs $3 to make? And the answer it has got to come down to, there's a story which increases that perceived value. So if I took that same candle, it's exactly the same product, and I'm a new company, and I launch a website and I say, hey, this candle is $45. well, I've got a problem because I'm competing on the same price level, but without the same story, if that makes sense. And so I'm always going to struggle. So I have to have something in there to increase that perceived value.
Well, that kind of leads to my next question, and that's, how can a small business compete with these? Well, how do you get a level playing field when you have a larger brand that you're trying to compete against and you're only a small business?
I think it's a great question. And I use the phrase, I don't know if you've ever come across it. I use the phrase digital Davids, the sort of the famous story of David versus Goliath. And what was it that David did to beat the giants? And Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book recently, well, I say recently, it was a few years ago now, called David and Goliath, which is a phenomenal book, talking about how you can take something which on the outside looks like a disadvantage and flip it and turn it to your advantage, if that makes sense. And one of the things that Gladwell brings out in his book is actually David played the game according to his rules and not Goliath's rules. And I think when you're starting out, when you're a small entrepreneur, how do you beat the giants? You have to play the game, I think, according to a different set of rules. And I think a good, to keep using the same drum, a good way to do that is to be authentic for you and have a story that actually captures people's imaginations, because no one can copy that. I can copy the candles, right? I can easily copy the candles. What I can't do is easily copy the story. And so you have to have a mechanism to create that story. And I think as long as you tell that well and tell it effectively, I think you can really do some damage, for want of a better expression, to the bigger brands. I think you can make some big dents. And so the question then becomes around, how do you do that? How do you find that story? How do you tell it in such a way? How do you reach your audience perhaps in a way that no one else is doing? And this is, for me, one of the reasons why, going back to TikTok, why TikTok has just totally blown up and transformed a lot of things, is because TikTok gave people like you, like me, the ability to tell story and attract customers in a way where the big brands are still sort of scratching their heads going, I've got to dance to music. Do you know what I mean? They don't get it. They don't understand it. And so you've had these smaller guys come in and just totally transform their lives and businesses because they've managed to capture people with their story.
Yeah, I couldn't see Tim Cook or Bill Gates doing a dance on TikTok.
No, but please, I would love to see it.
I would too.
An actual real one, not a deep fake video. Not at all. But it's that whole thing, isn't it? You're a digital David. You've got to play the rules by your own. You've got to play the game by your own rules, which actually, you have a lot of advantages which you may or may not realize, right? So another analogy, you're a speedboat, not a cruise liner. Sure, a cruise liner is bigger, but it takes years to turn those things around. Whereas you're a speedboat, you can just pivot and change in an instant. And I think you should definitely be using that for your advantage, and looking at ways of building insane value for your customers. And so actually, Norm, you were on our podcast, the eCommerce podcast, talking about this very thing, weren't you? About increasing perceived value. I think the title of the podcast, which I loved, by the way, can you massively increase perceived value, or is it just American hype? And I love that. And so, yeah, how do you do that? How can you do that for your audience? And I think a lot of that comes out in the research.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But the ability, like you were talking about, for that speedboat to be able to do different things way before, you have to have a sit down and get a committee to make sure it's compliant. You could just go, and this is the beauty of being an entrepreneur. Make a choice, look for different innovative things, and just go for it. And I'm trying to do that right now with this challenge thing. I don't know if it's going to work. I know nothing about it, but I'm just throwing it out there to see what's going to work, what's not going to work. And that's what I would do with my brand too. I wouldn't jeopardize my brand if I've got a certain tone, look, feel. I wouldn't go out there and I'd have to make sure that the perceived value, the brand story, the consistency of what I was doing would be there. If it's not, you could hurt your brand as well, I think.
Yeah. No, you can do totally, and the last thing you want to do is do that. But again, like you say, as an entrepreneur, you've done it, I've done it. You take the same product and you put it in a different bottle, right? You give it a new name. You can test things and try things quite quickly and easily. You can play around with that, and I think why not have a go, see what happens. You never know.
Right. And if you are getting other people to do this for you, so let's say you are using an influencer, one of the things that I would suggest is making sure that that influencer has the same personality or the same tone that you would be using as a brand. You know, if you've got this highly perceived jewelry and you hire a clown, not going to do your brand very much. I don't think, anyways.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and unless you can somehow bring that story around. But I think the thing about what you're doing, which I like, and the thing that I see a lot of entrepreneurs do, which again for me is one of the things which makes it unique to us, is we don't actually need a product. We just need a product idea. You can build a website. You can throw that product idea on there and monitor how many people go to the website, how many people click the buy now button or the find out more button. And you can see, right, is there any mileage in this? Before you've even brought anything to market, you can test that so easily online. You see, we've never had that ability before, never had that facility before. But I think it's in some respects it sounds like an easy thing to do, but in other respects it's very hard for people to go, how could I test something that's not actually there? I need to be able to touch, look, and feel, and I don't think you do. I think you can just put something out there quite easily and see if it's going to work before you go to the expense of building the thing.
Right. And the other thing too, one of our sponsors, Rebate, you can give them the product. You can give them 20 or 30 of your product and get feedback from real buyers, like consumers, on your product. So they'll fill out a survey and tell you what's good, bad, and ugly about your product. So I think that's important too. Maybe you don't have, maybe you're not targeting the right market, and these people can tell you. I mean, you can also, I don't know if you know the company, you probably do, but PickFu, you can ask a question and you can find out, is this true to brand? Again, that strategy is probably the most important strategy out there.
Yeah. I have to be honest with you. One of the things that I do, I just go into Amazon and I find my products, or I find our nearest competitors. Just read the reviews.
Yep.
I want to read the 5-star, the 4, all of the different reviews, and I want to read the frequently asked questions, because I think it's really interesting, isn't it? Is that question not being answered by the brand? Is that why it's there? And what have they said in the reviews? And that gives you so many ideas to help, you and your marketing and your brand development, your product development going forward. And it's all there. It's all for free. You just got to read it, right? Right.
Exactly. Okay. We are coming down to the bottom of the hour. And if you do have any questions on your brand story or anything we're talking about today, make sure you throw it into the comment section. We'll get it towards the top of the hour. And we also have a giveaway today. It's hashtag Wheel of Kelsey. If you're interested in entering, you can enter a hashtag Wheel of Kelsey or a hashtag Wheel of Hayden, whatever you like. Like Hayden a little bit more than hashtag Wheel of Kate. You can even put down hashtag I love Hayden. There you go. Whatever you like, it'll get you entered. Tag 2 people.
Hashtag we love Matt. Let's try that.
There we go. Hashtag we love Matt. There we go. And you'll get entered. But just tag team. Tag 2 people, get a second entry. Now, I don't even know if we have a giveaway today. Matt, did you talk to Hayden about this, or was
I did? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we did. There is one. Yeah.
Okay. What would that be?
So I run an e-commerce mastermind called Cohort, and e-commerce Cohort. And so we're going to give away a free membership to Cohort, which is worth $55 a month. So you get that for free for the next 12 months.
Wow. All right. Fantastic. So you can have that e-com Cohort mastermind $55 a month. So it's $600 plus dollars. In Canadian dollars, that's about 10 or 12,000 bucks. So
you said that, I didn't.
Yeah. All right. Hashtag Wheel of Kelsey or K Hayden or Matt. Tag two people. You get an extra entry. And Hayden, hit the sponsor, please. I want to give a quick shout out to an incredible group of sponsors to help keep this podcast running. The Lunch with Norm podcast would not be possible without the support of the following sponsors: Post Purchase Pro, Clear Ads, Jeff Schick Law, Rebate.com, Honu Worldwide, Digital Blacksmiths, Netfluence, Extreme Power, and Startup Club. Now back to the show. Okay, we're back. And Hayden, I didn't mean to physically hit the supplier, just the button, press the button. You did a good job. You did a good job. You didn't get me in trouble. So, okay, let's get back to this. At the beginning in the intro, I talked about mistakes. What kind of mistakes are you seeing suppliers make when they're getting into these strategies?
The biggest mistake that I see entrepreneurs make when they start online is they just sell what everybody else is selling, and there's no differentiation. And so the idea, so for example, you know, like I get these candles for like $3 as opposed to $45. You kind of think to yourself, man, I could clean up because I could sell those for $20, be half the price of their competitor, and still make reasonable profit margins. But it just doesn't work like that, does it? So I think for me, the biggest mistake is I don't think people spend the time researching the products that they're going to sell. And I think they just sell any old stuff. The classic example a few years ago was there was a big thing going around, wasn't there? I'm just going to go to AliExpress. I'm going to buy something cheap on there, which I like the look of. I'm going to put it on a Shopify site and I'm going to run Facebook ads to it. Or I'm going to go find a cheap product on AliExpress and I'm going to sit on Amazon. The trouble is 20,000 people are doing the same thing. And so it then becomes this kind of, how do you know, if you're walking around IKEA, for example, how would you differentiate every room if it all looked the same, if they're all beige with this? Do you know what I mean? It just would be really boring. And so I think I just don't see people thinking about the products that they sell. And I think there are two things that you have to think about when it comes to your product. Number one, is there a demand for it? Appreciate it's an obvious question, but again, so many times people sell products there's no demand for. And number two is how much do I know about that product? And if I don't know an awful lot, can I learn something? You know, because it's that knowledge which will enable me to tell the story, that will help me increase the perceived value, that's going to help me do all these other things, which will really drive it. And so if you don't have those two things, you've got a real problem. And so I get that there are commodities out there. So if I wanted to just be a commodity salesperson, then fine. And I think there are good strategies with that. But I think with e-commerce, if you're especially on your own website, I don't see it working anymore. I have to be honest.
Yeah, I'll give you a great example. It's right here. I'm doing a little promo video later on today about it. Where do I put it? I got stuff everywhere now. But, you know, just I'm laugh. Go ahead. You're going to laugh. But gummies are everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Not extra fiber, poop like a champion. Look at that. So the name. Okay. But don't forget.
Great name. Don't
forget. You've got the cereal, poop like a champion. And this cereal, and I got to tell you, like the brand is great. The quality of the product's great. They've gone out and they've taken something, they've made it a bit better. They're targeting like a different market, more of a health market. And they're getting a really good buck for the cereal and for the gummies and everything else that they're doing. And I wanted to point that out because you could get the gummies, you can get tons of gummies, you know, and go and get them manufactured or formulated for you. They did their research, they knew who their audience was, and they came out with this extra fiber added into these gummies.
Yeah.
So, you know, I thought like we were on the topic of bully sticks. We might as well go over to poop like a champion.
Why not? Yeah. The other side, right?
Yeah, sure. Anyway, I just think that that part is so important. And if you
Mm.
don't, if you do that Me Too product, it's crazy. It's already a stab in the back. You're going to just
Yeah.
die on the grapevine. I saw this with a plastic shoe stretcher. So a plastic shoe stretcher was selling, and there was 7 people selling the exact same plastic shoe stretcher, with the highest reviews being 3.5 stars.
Wow.
That was the max. Why would somebody go out and be selling that if they see the research? Anyways, it was but the person that had those were $6.99. The person that had the wooden shoe stretcher, they were selling for $99 because it would fit the whole foot, and they were doing 100,000 in sales. These guys were doing, at tops, it was 3,500 in sales. So again, thinking outside of the box, doing something differently. Okay, anything else? Any other mistakes that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, there's mistakes in every area, isn't there? You can talk about, well, there's mistakes in our product, there's mistakes in understanding the customer story and not taking the time to research that. I've seen people make mistakes in their marketing, thinking that everything comes down to a silver bullet, where it doesn't. I think you hear stories of silver bullets, just like you hear stories of a guy that goes to Alibaba, buys a cheap product, puts it on Amazon, and makes $1 million. It's the exception, it's not the rule, right?
Right.
And so, you know, with marketing, marketing comes down to the consistent use of proven principles, right? It just does. You know, all the rest of it is beautiful and nice, but it only works if there's consistent use of what I would call the proven principles. So you've got to do the basics well. And people don't, and they put all their eggs in the sort of the silver bullet type thing. And it all becomes a bit gimmicky, and it doesn't fit their brand or their lifestyle. And that silver bullet only lasts like 6 weeks tops before the next silver bullet is apparently coming along, and they've invested all their time and energy in it, and it's now no longer there. And so, you know, there's those kind of mistakes. I see people making mistakes in what I would call, for me, one of the biggest opportunities that you have, unless you are solely an Amazon business, but if you're doing your own fulfillment, your own distribution, the biggest opportunity that no one seems to be doing anything with is the opening experience. And just making that sing and delivering a little bit of wow into that area will totally transform your repeat orders to ways which you cannot really understand. But my experience is it massively changes everything. And so I see people making mistakes there. I mean, all over, Norm, in some respects. But I think for me, the biggest ones around product and customer research still, you know, because they're foundational. They're the things which drive everything. You know, if you've done that well, you tend not to do the silver bullet thing with the marketing. You tend to have a better opening experience, you know.
Right. And I guess we could talk about budget as well, and cash flow around marketing, and where's the biggest, like we talk about this with our team. Where's the ROI? You can spend a lot of money because somebody says TikTok's the best platform, but it might not give you the best ROI. Should I spend it on Google ads, or should you know, maybe it's some other form of social media ad? Maybe it's just driving traffic directly to your website using some other means. But this all comes into your digital marketing strategy as well. If you don't have the cash flow, or if you don't have the ROI, you can sink your ship pretty quick. You
really can. Because you're talking tens of thousands. I mean, we spend tens of thousands of dollars every month on paid media. And if you're not on that, if you're not watching that game, you may as well just open the door and throw the money out the window for all the good it's doing. In fact, that might be better, because I might get people crowding around my warehouse, you know,
there you go,
for the next time I was going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those, isn't it? I always think the best form of marketing, take the short-termism of paid media out. And we do paid media, like I say, tens of thousands of bucks every month, which generates the top of funnel type stuff. The best form of marketing, or the best place to spend your marketing budget, I think, is on your customer. And so doing things like referral marketing. So, you know, if you do the refer a friend thing, you refer a friend, you get this, they get that, everybody wins. Well, why not? And do that super well, you know. I saw IKEA do something which at the time I thought was absolutely nuts. But then we tried it on our website, and then I never thought it was nuts again. I thought it was inspired genius. And what they did was they had this campaign at around a Christmas time a few years ago, where if you bought a Christmas tree, and let's say the Christmas tree they were selling was $70. It wasn't crazy money, but it wasn't cheap. It was like $70, and you could buy this Christmas tree, this real Christmas tree. What they did was they said, if you buy a Christmas tree for $70, we will give you a voucher to spend in the store to the value of $70, right? But the voucher wasn't valid until like 2 weeks' time. So you couldn't buy the Christmas tree and then go in the store and spend just $70. And so what was interesting was they said it was valid for quite a short amount of time, actually. It's like 2-3 weeks, which would have been their quietest 2 or 3 weeks in the year. And they wanted to drum up, trade into the factories and the showrooms there. And so we thought, we should try this. If you buy this today for $35, some kind of starter kit, we will give you a gift voucher for $35 to spend on our website. But that has to be a separate purchase, and there are some terms and conditions associated with that. And everybody went nuts for it. It was genius. I was like, I'm really intrigued by this, And so this is where I think we can sort of invest our marketing budget, is in things like that. So obviously that kit didn't cost me $35. I wasn't really giving away $35 on my website, but I understood that actually there was a value to it. And I understood that getting someone back to my website for a second time is one of the most valuable things that I can do. And once they've been back a second time, they are much more likely to become a third, fourth, fifth time customer, and their lifetime value goes up disproportionately if I've got them back a second time. So getting somebody back to buy from me again becomes really, really important. And it's why subscription websites are always more valuable than first-time sales sites, even if their turnover is exactly the same. Because with a subscription, the customers get used to coming back time and time again. And so invest your marketing into your customers, for me, is a no-brainer of a strategy.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And I agree 100% on that recurring. Like if you've got subscription model, if my soap is $10, I'll spend $10 to get somebody over there. If you have a crappy brand, maybe that's not the best marketing technique.
Yeah, that's a great way to bankruptcy. Yeah.
If it's a good brand, you'll probably pull off a repetitive or a repeat customer. Mm-hmm. The other area that I like, and like Post-Purchase Pro is one of our sponsors, but they really got me thinking about taking advantage of email and keeping our name in front of the customer and keeping our, like, just even with SMS, but really just keeping focused and either sending an email out to them once a week, just letting them know health benefits, whatever, not always sales. And that's actually like with the Lunch with Norm deals, that's what we're doing with the deal site. Every single day this is not a plug, by the way, I'm just saying, if I could be a plug.
It's your show, plug it away. It's fine.
Lunch with Norm deals, www. So anyways, with Lunch with Norm deals, we're going to be doing, this part hasn't started yet, but this is the way to get people to come back, is it's a new heavily discounted product deal every day. So we have the deals that'll be there. Hopefully there'll be thousands of deals, but there'll be that one deal every day that people can come back and take a look at. We're spending the money on the advertising and getting people to come. Hopefully that's the hook to get people to come back and look.
Yeah. Oh, and that works as long as your email marketing or your SMS, whatever it is you do to contact them once you've got them the first time, as long as you've got that messaging right. Yeah. I mean, it's a great strategy. I mean, within marketing, the company that can pay the most to attract a client ultimately wins, right? And so you've got to be willing to pay, in effect, more than the next person to gather that customer. And if you understand lifetime value, as in it's not just that one sale, but we think they're going to buy from us 6 times over the next 18 months, which means their lifetime value is not X, but it's Y. Well, then you understand what you can spend, in terms of gathering that customer. And I think things like that work super well. But if you go down that strategy, you've got to make sure your follow-up comms are bang on. Bang on. Otherwise, you're constantly going to struggle.
And, one thing I'm probably 100% sure of is that you listen to every Lunch with Norm at noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So you would recognize that our last guest, while you were listening to it, was Simply Note. And I want to make sure that, I'm not assuming, but
No,
that you do listen to Lunch with Norm every day. But, but anyways, one of the things that he was talking about is a truly handwritten note that goes out either in the package, personalized, or you send out a card just thanking them, or it could even be your subscription. If you've got a subscription going, just all the instructions, but it's handwritten rather than, and it's not like the kind that are just digitally printed. These ones are actually with a pen. I thought that was a brilliant idea. He was just on, and that's exactly what we're talking about, going that one step further to get that customer to go, wow, this company's special.
I mean, we've done that a lot, the handwritten, and actually we use technology to help us with it. So we had a secret code that we put on the packing slip, so the girls and boys in the warehouse, they can sit, and when they see that code, that they know that there's something they need to do. And so sometimes they would write handwritten notes, sometimes they would put in there things like a handwritten note with a gift voucher and just saying, hey, listen, we noticed I pick and pack in the warehouse. I've seen your name come up a couple of times. Just really appreciate you constantly buying from us, because it's because of people like you that I have a job. Or do you know what I mean? Something like that. And just saying, you know what, every day I get to give a gift voucher to a great customer. And today I chose you. Thanks for being a great client of ours.
That is a very good idea.
Super easy to do, right? Super easy. And so the client gets a handwritten note with and the gift vouchers have to be much. It could be like $5 or something like that. But to feel that uniqueness and to feel that special, we did this thing where when you send emails out, you get the out of office notifications, right? And so if you use an email provider, it's hard to read these. But there are ways you can do it. And so what I was really curious to know is how many people we were emailing, especially with the company that we had, because it was a beauty company. I sold it last year. But because our clientele was 95% female, I'm like, how many of these ladies go off on maternity leave? And so we started looking at the bounce back emails, and every time we did an email, we got like 3 or 4 emails back from customers, because we sent thousands of emails saying, oh, I'm now on maternity leave. If you need help, here's such and such person. So we were like, this is brilliant. And so we'd go and find that customer in the database. We'd get their home address, because that's normally where the products were sent. And we would send them these little maternity packs, just with like a little baby grow, some, beauty products for mums to be and stuff like that. Not charging them for them. And they didn't cost us a whole great deal to put together, to be honest with you. But we sent out these maternity packs. Just there you go. Guess who comes back and buys from us time and time again, right?
Wow.
Just amazing stuff. And people sending us photographs of their kids and the baby grows, posting them on social media. I mean, all that kind of stuff you just can't buy. So
you're getting your user generated content that way as well.
Oh, absolutely. People love to share photos of the kids, don't they? And so, yeah, I think you can do all kinds of things like that. If you just think about it outside the box and ask yourself, listen, if I was this customer, what would help me? What would really make me go, these guys are amazing? And obviously some things you just can't do because of costs, but there's always a way to figure it out and go, oh, there's definitely something more I can do that's really going to take this to the next level,
Yeah, I guess it just takes a little bit of sitting down for a few minutes and trying to figure out what you can do for your customer. Like that one, just seeing the emails bouncing. That's brilliant, because who are they going to love? They're going to love you and your company. It's great. Okay, so 19 years of experience. Let's talk about this now. Just maybe a short list of things that you can just, how about a short list of things that let's see, old guy trying to think again. What has 19 years of e-commerce taught you? How's that?
That's a great question, Norm. I think I did an event the other night, funnily enough, around Cohort, the mastermind group. And I did this video, which is currently up on YouTube actually for the next couple of days, but it's the thumbnail reads, "My $38 million mistake." And I made a mistake back in 2012 that I think cost us about $38 million in lost revenue. And you look back over your time in e-commerce and you kind of go, there are some things we have done really well, like figuring out customer story, sitting in the customer's shoes. We have something called toilet seat marketing, which always helps us. And it's, in fact, I have I'll show you now, always by the side of my chair, to go with your poop like a pro or whatever it was, poop like a champion. I have a toilet seat, and what I like to do is, we do this really well. It's like, we get the guys to sit on toilet seats, because there's the theory being, when you go to a toilet store, right? A friend of mine used to clean them, was a cleaner, and he always won awards for the cleanest toilet stores. And the other cleaners were like, how do you constantly win awards? And he told this story, and this is why I use it. He told this story that, everybody else would go into the toilet store, they'd open the doors, they'd scrub the walls, they'd clean the toilet, and then they'd go. And he said, I did exactly the same thing, but I did one thing differently. And that is, I turned around and I sat down on the toilet and I cleaned the toilet store from that point of view, because from that point of view, you have the most important point of view, right? It's the most important one. It's the one that counts. That's why he always got the high customer accolades. And so that story, I think, has always stuck in my head, to the point where we get people to sit on toilet seats to just literally think of things from their customer's point of view. And I think we've been really good at that over the years, the toilet seat thinking. What happened was, we became so good at one or two things that we got siloed. So we became great at marketing. We became great at these sort of experiences. And that's what we focused in on more than anything else. And we doubled down on it because we were so good at it. And to be honest, because we enjoyed it. But that meant that I didn't think about the rest of my e-commerce business. And I think there's sort of 7 key areas you have to think about. So if I'm really good at 2 or 3, you can see, well, actually, there's still 3 or 4, Matt, that's not quite right. And because of that, we got to a place in 2012 where we almost lost everything overnight. And it's because we got quite siloed and we didn't think about the business as a whole. So I would say my biggest lesson, having been in e-commerce for 20 years now, is to say e-commerce is about all of these elements working in harmony, and you can't afford to get siloed. You can't afford to, not keep up in some respects, but you definitely can't afford to get siloed. And you have to work on your whole e-commerce business if you want any chance of success in the long run. And really, that's my sort of lesson in a nutshell.
Very good. You just hung there for a second, so that was the reason for delay. Anyway, so important. And I like to also just say that your strategy changes every quarter. Mm-hmm. You might be using one thing that worked this quarter. Maybe twice a year you sit down and talk about it. But if you're only doing it once a year, if you're doing it at all, there's a lot of companies that don't even do any form of strategy sessions. You're missing the boat, because what was good when you first started off might not be something that would work now that you're 3 months into it. Getting into a brand that's been around for a bit is very important, especially if you have VAs that are working with you, that you take the time, you set up a day, spend a few hours. Like I know with one of the pet brands that we have, the CEO of that company spends 2 days with the whole team It's a big brand, but they come in, and it doesn't matter who you are, but he's got he brings in a professional moderator too, and it's a planning session like none other. I've been able to sit in on a couple, and it's really cool the way that they do this. And just to give you an idea, the company went, this is over a year and a half, from 10 mil to 45. You could never achieve that with just not planning, you know. And now these guys are experts. I mean, they know their stuff. And you know, I'll just throw it out there, Howard. I don't know if you want to make any comments, but you know, these large brands that are online, you have to constantly keep up with technology as well. Technology, like look at what's happening with GBT right now. It's all over. Everybody's talking about it. And you know, how can that improve your listings? How could that improve anything that you're doing? It's always changing. So I just wanted to add on to what you were saying.
Yeah, it's very true. Very true. I'm really intrigued, Norman. You know, where is AI taking it all? You know, what's going to be happening in e-commerce, and to the point where I was talking to my son about this, because my son's doing a degree in theoretical physics, as you do. Not my choice, but you know, his. And I was talking to him about it because he's got very much into machine learning and AI. And I'm like, I think if you could write AI, which in effect designs your website on the fly. So you go to AI and say, I want a website, I'm selling these products, these are the customers, these are the background on the customers. And that's it. You know, you've got no other information, and it goes away, does the research, comes back and goes, but I think you need these colors. This is a kind of a cool logo. And I think the website should be laid out like this. And then it kind of tweaks it as it goes along. I don't know. I'm really intrigued to see, you know, where it goes, AI in the future with all of this sort of stuff. And yeah, keeping it with technology is just
it's going to be absolutely great. When I was in high school, I was talking to my teacher about this, and he was saying, you know, over 10,000 years, it took this long. And then when we hit the Industrial Revolution, it sped up time this long. When I was talking to him, he said, technology is changing every 7 years. That's how old I am, right? Like I think Morse code was just coming out. But now it's so fast.
Yeah.
As soon as you get on it, there's something else. Now, this is what is a little bit scary, because when you take a look at, you know, where DALL-E, Midjourney, all these, at least the art AI platforms are going, I'm seeing improvements almost every day with what they can do, how they can do it. Yeah. Then you take it over onto the customer service side or research side, or like I wrote a book. They wrote a book. It wrote a book for me in about 3 hours, you know, and it was a very good book. It's about press releases. You'll be seeing it. It'll be authored by Norm Farrar on Amazon very shortly. But these are the things that you can do to build authority, and you don't even have to be the authority. Yeah. I mean, but this is what's happening. Yeah, I know, you know, press releases, and this is where, at least because I think I'm somewhat of an expert with that side of things. I read exactly what it said, from the anatomy of a press release to like every single chapter. And I got it to write engaging titles. I got it to write snippets for Twitter. It wrote everything. And wait a month, wait 2 months.
I'm really keen to see your book. Yeah.
What's that?
I'm really keen to see your book now.
Yeah, I'm the guy with the beard. So anyway, yeah, it's just, I know we've gone down a completely, I knew we'd do this, a different rabbit hole.
Yeah, sorry.
But it's something that's so important right now. And we are going to be, one of the things that I'm going to be trying to do is getting people that are more involved in the AI community to come on board and start talking, because it is important. I just was talking to an incredible company about an AI tool that's made specifically for Amazon. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I can imagine it is.
Unbelievable. So anyways, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I can imagine it is. It's one of those, isn't it, where you kind of, I do think AI is going to keep changing and keep evolving, and our technology will change and evolve as a result. But if I was to bring this back full circle, Norm, just like any good podcast host would in my head, I suppose, if I was to bring it back full circle, I would say yes, AI is going to be important, but that's never going to discount the ability of human story and the ability to do that well. I think you could have the most complete AI website, but will it outperform a website over here set up by an outlier, set up by a guy who's just got a really passionate story, real heart for something, and he's put it on the web, and he's talking about it, and he's doing the Facebook lives or the YouTube lives, or he's got the podcast, which is something that I think everyone should have. But you've got all that stuff going on there. I'm really curious to see which one would perform. Yes, the AI is clever and it can optimize on the fly and it can increase conversions, but there's something about that human interest, that human story, that's still going to draw us thousands of years later, I think.
Yeah, and we'll see when that takes over as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and just so I don't know if you've heard about this app from Microsoft now. I don't think it's formally been released, but you talk to it for 3 seconds and it can mimic you.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard about this?
Yeah, I use a product called Descript to do. We use it in our. The guys use it to edit the podcast and the videos. And again, it's the same thing. You talk to Descript, and if you make a mistake on the podcast, you can type in what you should have said.
Yeah,
and it will mimic your voice, and it will do it how it should do it. Yeah, it's incredible what it can do now.
Yeah. So it's only going to get bigger and faster, better,
and more scary.
And more scary. Yeah, yeah. All right, sir. Well, that's it. I know I have a few other questions, and we could just talk forever. But just first of all, thanks for coming on. And how can people get a hold of you? And what was the name of your podcast and your mastermind group? You're as busy as I am.
I'm still learning from you, Norm. No, if you the best way to find out more about me and what was going on, just head over to eCommercecohort.com. There's more information about Cohort there, which is the mastermind I tell you about. All the information's on there. And then if you just want to connect with me personally, just Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, just go search for Matt Edmundson. I'll come up, the e-commerce guy. And then the podcast is just called the e-commerce podcast. Simple as that. So just search the e-commerce podcast with Matt, and hopefully Google will do its thing and you'll find us.
Awesome. And it's an awesome podcast. I've had a chance to listen to it a few times. So check it out. All right. So we'll be heading over to the Wheel of Kelsey, Hayden, Matt in a second. Tag 2 people and you get a second entry. This will be your last chance before we go over to it. And Hayden, why don't we go to the last word from our sponsor, and then we'll head over to the wheel. I want to thank Jeff Schick Legal for sponsoring this episode of Lunch with Norm. You've probably heard on the podcast about Amazon suspensions. They're very real. It can happen at any time. And when it does happen, how do you get out of it? How does the little guy like you and me get out of these suspensions without paying an arm and a leg in legal fees? This is where Jeff Schick Legal is here to help. For a very low monthly retainer, for only $89, get access to Amazon attorney Jeff Schick. That's right. You can sit back, relax, enjoy that cup of coffee while listening to the Lunch with Norm podcast, knowing that you have an advocate and a partner in your business success. But wait, just mention Lunch with Norm and receive 50% off the first 2 months. Get the protection you need and visit jeffschick.com today. That's JEFFSCHICK.com. Now let's get back to the show. Okay, so Hayden, I think we've got one last person that just came in, and that's Wayne Hills.
Oh yeah, he's in
Okay.
there.
All right. So we've done this before. You don't have to turn your volume down there, Matt. I think just hit that button, Hayden, and off to the wheel.
Here we go.
Just give me 1 sec.
You want the Jeopardy song?
Yeah, I need it. Drastically.
You want me to do the dance, my TikTok dance?
Yes, please. Viewership just went through the roof.
Okay, so
right.
we got a bunch of people today. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right, 3, 2, 1.
Oh,
Who is it? Oh man, rad.
Looks like it's Rad.
Perfect. There you go, Rad. I think you're gonna love that.
Congrats, Rad.
And Rad, you've won a few times. So just reach out to Kelsey at k@lunchwithnorm.com and he'll get you the information. Okay. So congrats once again, Rad.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you in there, but
yeah. And he's awesome. He's got great products as well. So it's perfect for him. So anyways, Matt, thank you, sir, for coming on. It was awesome to have another podcast with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll always enjoy our conversations, Norm. I'm looking forward to the next one.
You will absolutely get that email. We might have to wait a month or two, but we'll get you back.
No, I was thinking more, we'll get you on ours as well. We just keep trading back and forth.
Hey, I love it. But no, thank you again. It's always just a pleasure to talk to you. And, it's just fun. It's just a great time. And you're always dropping knowledge. So thank you.
No, I appreciate you having me back on. It's been great.
No problem. All right. So thanks, Matt. And I hope everybody enjoyed today's show. Matt taught us a ton of different things, gave us some great ideas. And I think, Hayden, is there anything else that we have to say before we take off?
Just a reminder to like us wherever you find our podcasts. Also, make sure you join the Facebook group where we'll be announcing the future guests for the rest of the week. And there's obviously a ton of great discussion in the group there too. But like a lot of great questions posted by the community. And of course, Norm gets in there and answers as much as he can. So if you're not a part
that's GBT or GPT.
Yeah, it's actually everything is chat GPT generated. Yeah. Actually, this whole podcast, like these are all
all just
it's all deep fake.
This is all video.
So so thank you, everybody. If you like what you heard today, always love to see reviews. No pressure, but those that give 5-star get $20. No, just joking. Anyway, we will see you later. I'm going to keep everybody updated on the 0 to 100,000 challenges. It is going to be an uphill battle, but I hope to achieve that by December 31st. All right, that's it for us today. Hayden almost hit the button. I have to say one last thing. I almost forgot. Join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time. We love this community. You guys are awesome. We could not do this podcast without you. And please, if you're not part of the community, join us at Lunch with Norm in our Facebook group. Thanks a lot, and we will see you on Wednesday. Want more great information? Don't forget to subscribe by clicking here. Also, if you want to check out our latest podcasts, click over here.
Lunch with Norm.